Welcome back to the Bill and Doug Show. He's Bill Landis. I'm Doug Lesmerises. We're being slightly thwarted by power outages in the Columbus area as we record this on Tuesday, Bill. We often do Around the Shoe on Monday to get our guests in. We plan to do it on Tuesday this week, and some of our guests don't have power at the moment. So we wanted to do this show about the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry, about what Kyle Whittingham, the new Michigan coach, has said about the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry, because you started all of this, so we want to talk about it. But also, we know a lot of people are locked in early in the week here on the Bill and Doug Show for Around the Shoe. We're trying our best to get that to you. I'm not sure if it's going to happen this week. We're not going to keep you posted. It's either going to pop in your feed at some point or it's not. If it doesn't, it's the lightning. Sorry.
Yeah, hopefully everyone watching and listening to this, the nasty storms rolling through on Tuesday morning and like Monday night and for like the last 4 days. So yeah. hopefully everyone made it through those okay.
All right, let's talk about Kyle Whittingham, but first a little reminder. Boom, August 20th, 2 Thursdays from now, will be stop 4 of the Bill and Doug Ohio State Football Trivia World Tour. We've had 3 outstanding events so far. We want to thank everybody involved. We want to thank the restaurants and the bars that allowed us to come in and take their places over. We want to especially thank all the subscribers, all the non-subscribers who have turned out to make our events in Columbus, Chicago, and in the Dayton area so successful. Cincinnati's next. RJ Cinema, Distillery, and Tap Room. It's going to be a great event. August 20th. That's in 9 days as we record this. On a Thursday night from 7 to 9 p.m., Landis, we remain excited and enthused about our trivia outings.
Yeah, that one in Cincinnati, too, is good. So RJ Distillery and Cinema has like a little pavilion, and we're taking the whole thing over from what I understand. So it should be it's an all-weather event. You know, if the weather's bad, we can close the doors and stuff like that. But, yeah, it should be good. I'm looking forward to it. The first 3 have been great. So I got high expectations for the next 2 we're doing.
And just very quickly, BillAndDougShow.com. It's our website. Lots of people are signing up. We are one of the top 20 Substacks in all of the Substack world. I believe we are 5th in rising sports Substacks because so many people are signing up with the season approaching. We know you're here. We're appreciative that you're here. If you don't ever check out the website, like maybe you want to check it out, BillAndDougShow.com. Bill Landis, have you ruined the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry before Kyle Whittingham could even get into it? I think people know what we're talking about. I don't know if people know of your role in this. And I think as an extension, our role, our show, our discussion about this that led to you causing Kyle Whittingham to like crash and burn before he could even like get half an inch into the game. Landis, just spell it all out for everybody. What is going on? Because it has been nuts, right?
It was definitely nuts for a couple of days after Big Ten Media Days, and then it had died down a little bit. And I guess Monday was maybe the first time since then that Kyle Whittingham had been available to the media. So it resurfaced because it was worth a follow-up question, I think. So it was a good job out of the Michigan beat to ask that question. So there were 2 questions really at Big Ten Media Days. Right. One from a television reporter who I did not recognize, so I apologize for not giving them the credit, sort of asked Kyle Whittingham like a question they wanted an answer to, but also asked it in sort of like a jokey way, like, hey, Kyle, you've learned to hate Ohio State yet? And Kyle Whittingham said something to the effect of like, hate's a strong word, and then gave another answer to that. I actually was not there when that question was asked. I showed up probably 2 minutes after he gave that answer and then was there for the rest of his interview. And he wasn't really asked about Ohio State again until I asked him a question, because I have been, and I think maybe you have been too, are interested in like the personal animosity, not just the rivalry between the 2 programs, but the personal animosity that was clear and evident between Ryan Day and Jim Harbaugh. And then I think Sharon Moore as an extension of Jim Harbaugh. So I asked Kyle Whittingham, I sort of told him like, hey, by the way, like this rivalry has not been defined by, but I think like a little bit consumed by like personal hatred between the coaches the last few years. What place do you think that do you think that has in a rivalry? Like what to you is a rivalry about? And that is when he said I don't know what the dynamic was previously. I know that I thought Ryan was a pretty good guy when I interacted with him at the Rose Bowl, and based on what Urban Meyer has told me about him, I just think a rivalry can be intense and emotional without the hatred factor. I don't think there's any place for that personally. I think Ryan Day is a good person. To sit here and say, I hate Ryan Day, I'd be making crap up because that's not true. And then everyone wrote, does Kyle Whittingham get it?
Yes. And the issue is that, like, I think a lot of the people writing and talking about that didn't get it, because so there's two. You can have a discussion about hatred in the Ohio State football rivalry. And again, you and I have been doing this a long time. Over the years, there are times when we just wind up with questions about semantics, and you're getting out your thesaurus and you're like, respect and hatred and all these things about the Ohio State Michigan rivalry the week of, and like, you know, you're trying to like slice it to figure out like, well, what, you know, like it really matters, but like, what word do you want to apply to it? We didn't talk about this, right? I feel like we've had this. Where have we had a version of this conversation? Just
we talked about it
ourselves.
We talked about it on a Substack show, like the Sunday after it happened. This happened on Thursday. We talked about it on Saturday or Sunday.
With our folks over there, which is the kind of stuff you get if you subscribe to BillAndDougShow.com. You get 2 extra shows a week, a big, gigantic 2-hour one every Wednesday and one on Sunday where we react to your questions. Okay. If you want to have the hatred conversation, that's fine. You can have the hatred conversation about Ohio State, Michigan 365 days a year, right? Mm-hmm. To sort of apply the hatred conversation and go to Kyle Whittingham doesn't get it, like that kind of thing, you're missing the context that you asked it in. And I found it odd. Like, did you find, being the person at the heart of this, did you find the discussion and stories after the fact odd? Were you mad at all? Did you just like shake your head, no big deal? Or like how much did it matter that people seem to sort of not get the context?
Yeah, I don't know that I was like frustrated a little bit, right? Some of like whatever. I was talking with someone about this after I had written something about it at BillAndDougShow.com, and I was talking with another national reporter, and they said like part of this is like the influencerification of sports media, where it's just like you don't care about the context. There's just a juicy quote out there, and the lack of context helps you turn it into something maybe more than it is. So like I'm aware of that, and like you can only give that so much attention. So like I'm not really upset about people who aren't sort of like, you know, professional sports writers, for lack of a better word, or professional sports broadcasters taking it and running with it. It's like when people like who should know better, I think when taking and run with it is when it becomes a little frustrating. And it's not that it's not worthy of conversation. We're doing a second show about it, but just be smart when you do it, I think is the thing. And you know, context is lost in most things now, and to go out of your way to include the question from a 45-minute press conference when it's just easier to grab the quote and write and talk about that. Like I understand it, but a lot I think did get lost in the conversation because no one took the time to say like, wait, what was he asked? How was he asked it before he gave that answer?
Will you say again the phrasing of your question, how you asked it, what words you said?
I believe I said, Kyle, the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry lately has been a lot about personal animosity between the head coaches. What place do you think that has in a rivalry? Or what do you think a rivalry should be about? I believe is how I asked it.
Which is not, that's not at all about hating Ohio State. It's about hating Ryan Day, and his answer's about hating Ryan Day. So I again would just like to clarify that fans can and should do and think whatever they want. You pay money. You put your passion into this. Have any opinion about this that you would like to have. You earn the right to hate. You earn the right to think hate's good, hate's bad, whatever. Like media preaching unnuanced lack of context to fans who live it every day, that's where I'm like, this is where we've lost the plot a little bit. And the point that I think like vague hate. I hate Michigan. I hate blue and yellow. I hate the helmets, right? That's a very, like, that vague kind of hate. I think that's I don't know that anybody disagrees with that. It's like, do Ohio State fans hate Michigan? Do Michigan fans hate Ohio State? But the specificity of the hate, because there are so many people, there are Ohio State fans who have friends that are Michigan fans. Do you hate your friend? There are Michigan fans that have Ohio State friends. Do you hate your Ohio State friend? The specificity, and that's what you were getting at. The personal animosity that we have discussed, and I did see Ralph Russo in a comment to something else. It's like, I don't know. Twitter's all junked up now. Here's the thing. I follow Chili's on Twitter, right? And Chili's follows me back. Now Chili's follows 1 million people. Yeah. I don't want to.
Wear that as a badge of honor that they follow you.
Okay.
There's more than 1 million people in the world.
I don't want to humble brag. I don't want to humble brag that Chili's follows me. I don't want to unfollow Chili's because I want to keep Chili's on the hook, because I want Chili's to be a sponsor of the Bill and Doug Show, because it's real, because it's honest. I've had criticisms of Chili's. You and I are currently wrapped in a gigantic thing of our own making slightly about Wendy's. We'll talk about that on a different show. But the result is that I get every reply that Chili's replies to anybody. If somebody says, I had a great meal at Chili's randomly, they don't even tag Chili. They just put the word Chili's in there. Chili's, the Twitter account, seeks it out and finds it. If somebody says, oh man, my chicken crispers were cold, Chili's will seek it out and find it and be like, DM us, we'll fix it, right? And my Twitter feed is filled with Chili's replies to random people commenting on their meal. And I don't want that to be the brunt of my Twitter feed, but it is, but I also can't unfollow them. Is this what everybody's experiencing?
Yeah. I mean, the algorithm knows what you'd like. So it's gonna pump a lot of green bean crispers your way.
But I want general Chili's tweets. I don't want like Chili's specifically responding to Ronaldo in Ventura, California, because he thought he should have gotten more fries with his steak, right? That's insane. How is that in my feed? So anyway, Ralph Russo, formerly of the AP, now The Athletic, responded to somebody else who had commented on the Kyle Whittingham thing. And he said, Ryan Day hated Michigan for 4 years, and it nearly ate him alive and got him run out of town. And so Ralph gets it. So there are some people who get it. That's what we're getting at. Is that not what you were trying to get at with your question?
Yeah, because I'm just interested in the reset. I think we're interested in the reset, right? Like,
yes.
There is always, like, and I think I put this in the story that I wrote. It's like, of course, Urban hated Michigan, but like I don't. I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. Like, it didn't consume him. It fueled him. It didn't consume him. And there were other emotions tied with it that I think like sort of kept him balanced as he was trying to figure out how to attack Michigan. And I think Ralph kind of like hit him on the head with Ryan Day. And like, we all know why. It's because of what Jim Harbaugh said about him after he beat him the first time in 2021. And then like it snowballed with all the Connor Stallion stuff. But the originating event is third base in 2021. And it was all hatred. Like burning hotter than hatred has ever burned, I think. And it just, in my opinion, never put him in the right place to go win that game. Is it the only reason Ohio State lost 4 in a row? No. Again, Connor Stallions. But I do think it mattered a lot that seemed to blind, I think, Ryan Day in his quest to try to keep Ohio State on the right side of that rivalry. And I think it trickled over to 2024, even though Jim Harbaugh wasn't there. And I guess Harbaugh technically wasn't on the sideline in 23, but it was still Harbaugh's team. And now, like, none of that's there anymore. So I'm just like, I'm like the Harbaughness has sort of been washed out of the program entirely. So then, what does that mean? I think it could mean that like Ryan Day is ready to rock and roll in the Michigan rivalry. I didn't write that, but I wanted to ask Kyle Whittingham about that too, because Kyle Whittingham could have said, I wasn't expecting him to, but he could have relit that fire. He could have said something, right, to try to keep Ryan Day on tilt when Ohio State plays Michigan. And he chose not to, which is sort of like exactly what I thought he would do. And I think kind of got to the heart of the point, which is like, here are 2 programs that have no reason at all to like each other, but I think plenty of reasons to respect each other. And for a long time, that's what the rivalry was about. And like, can it get back to that? Well, it matters just as much, but like the emotions tied to it, I think are just like slightly different.
I don't, maybe this is wrong. General motivation, like whatever, something that makes you play your best because that team beat you last year, because this rivalry is important, because you have something inside of you that makes it matter. That's great. I think that can elevate performance. I'm not sure that specific, very personal hatred in sports is often serves you well. I don't know that it makes you play better. I think it is more likely to get you off of your game the more personal it becomes, which is why I think it was absolutely strategic on Jim Harbaugh's part after the one time he finally beats Ohio State, right? And he beat them because Aiden Hutchinson was really good. That was an excellent Michigan defense. It snowed. Ohio State was kind of off its game, and Michigan wasn't going to lose 50 in a row. And the moment he got one, he went for a kill shot. Like, I think in a way that was made him look bad. I think it was like sort of beneath, right? Like kind of what you do. It obviously angered Ohio State fans, and it obviously personally angered Ryan Day, and I think justifiably on that side of it. But it was strategic by him. And it then contributed. It had an effect on the rivalry, his decision to make it personal. And so to pull out, and then Sharon Moore's a continuation of that because Connor Stallions feeds into that, like that era of Michigan football, right? That's what you were getting at. And you're talking about the reset. Like that era of Michigan football, Harbaugh into Sharon Moore was kind of personal, and Jim Harbaugh is hateable. Right? Is he not hateable?
Yeah. Yes.
Urban Meyer, hateable. Like just to show up, and it's like I could get if it felt personal for Michigan in some way, because they just don't like that guy. They don't like the way that guy handles himself, the way he goes about his business, to what he projects. They don't like him. I think Jim Tressel, after a time, right? Like, hateable if you thought the sweater vest senator kind of thing was disingenuous, right? If you were like that guy, I think like you could get there on that, right? And so I think there have been, like in this run of the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry, which was dominated by Ohio State for, 3/4 of it, and then was dominated by Michigan for 4 years, there was, I think, a lot of maybe more specific hate involved in that. Now, I think there are some Michigan fans and some people maybe in the Michigan program who, if you believe the conspiracy theory that somehow Ryan Day was involved in like the tipping off Connor Stallion stuff, which we know there's no evidence for, but some Michigan people believe as a conspiracy theory, you might have specific hatred toward Ryan Day. But like other than that, I'm not sure that Ryan Day or Kyle Whittingham carries themselves in a hateable way that would encourage personal animosity, maybe in the way that Moore, Harbaugh, Meyer, and maybe even to a degree Tressel might have. What do you think about that?
No, I agree with that. I think at some point, sort of like your success, just I think does that. To, like, and I think that's probably what happened with Tressel. But otherwise, no, I think you're spot on. And I would say, I've said this before, but I'll repeat it because just to balance out the conversation. I think what you said about the possible Michigan view on Urban Meyer, I think definitely was Jim Harbaugh's view on Urban Meyer, right? Like this, I don't like the way that this guy goes about his business. And then as soon as Urban was gone, Harbaugh took a shot at him when he said the controversy follows him everywhere he goes. Yep. After Urban retired, clearly that had been boiling, or whatever the right word is for it, simmering for Harbaugh. And I don't think put him in it. Like, did he have the talent to beat Urban? Maybe not, but I also think he probably didn't coach as well as he could have in those games because of that personal feeling toward Urban Meyer. I'm the guy who does it the right way. You're the guy who does it the wrong way. But yeah, I don't know what it would be like, because even the thing, like if it were the conspiracy theory about Ryan Day's brother, like that was sort of debunked by all the what information Michigan was willing to share about its investigation into the athletic department, right? So I guess you could hold on to that if you wanted to, but you're just, in my mind, you're just sort of like, I don't like that guy because he coaches Ohio State. It's like, fine. Like, I think that's fair. And same thing toward Kyle Whittingham. If you're an Ohio State fan, the point of this conversation is not to get you to like Kyle Whittingham, but that's all kind of like surface level stuff that then I just think clears the mind a little bit for the people involved in terms of how they're going to go about trying to play the game now.
I do. And this is something that now this makes me want to investigate this angle of it even further, write about this, talk about this. Is this currently with Kyle Whittingham, Utah guy, Ryan Day, New Hampshire guy, is this the least personal the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry has been since blank? That on both sides of it, you don't have head coaches who grew up in it. And even though Ryan Day was an assistant at Ohio State for 2 years, he was not like steeped in it when he took over. Because when you think about Harbaugh, obviously the ultimate Michigan man, right? And then you think about Urban Meyer growing up in Ohio with a Buckeye in his pocket. That mattered to him. That rivalry mattered to him on a visceral level. Jim Tressel growing up in Ohio. His dad was at Ohio State and then had to leave because of the war and like didn't really get to like fulfill his destiny. Jim Tressel, his connection to Ohio State, his connection to the rivalry, visceral level, right? Lloyd Carr is not like from Michigan, but was an assistant for 15 years at Michigan before he became the head coach, like as a Bo guy, right? Like loved that, like visceral, right? You can go back. I'd have to like,
even like Brady Hoke, right? Like Brady Hoke from Ohio, right? Like,
but like ultimate Michigan man, like was a reaction to Rich Rod that was a Michigan assistant. Like he wanted that job because it was the Michigan job, right? Like all of that. I'd have to think about even like Gary Moeller's like winds up at Michigan. He went to Ohio State, but like is connected in the rivalry there, right? So, I mean, maybe there's a coup against a Michigan coach that I'm not thinking of that maybe was a little less, but like I wonder. And this is the thing too. I don't think it serves anybody to like fake something that's not there. And so Ryan Day and Kyle Whittingham should not be disqualified from being these head coaches because they did not grow up in the state. They did not grow up as fans of the team. They are very good football coaches. But then you don't have to try to be like Urban Meyer. You don't have to try to be like Jim Harbaugh, right? Whereas like if Jim Harbaugh said, I hate Ohio State, even if it's general hate, Jim Harbaugh could say, I hate Ohio State with every fiber of my being, and I have since I was 5 years old, and that would be real. That's not real for Kyle Whittingham. Urban Meyer could say the same thing. I've hated Michigan since I came out of the womb, and it would be real. I was taught to hate that program, that school, those colors. Ryan Day can't say that. It's not real. There's no sense in saying it, right? So it's just we have to admit, like, just the reality of the situation. And it felt like a lot of the discussion around it starts inching back toward, well, if you don't hate him, if you didn't grow up in this, you shouldn't be the head coach, right? Which I just think that's not a way to live. And I just thought like the media sort of preaching that he doesn't get it. To me, like you're getting very close to the Michigan coach should be from Michigan. The Ohio State coach should be from Ohio. And I don't think that's the smart way for either program to run, because then otherwise you're asking a guy to be disingenuous, right? Because if Kyle Whittingham doesn't personally hate Ryan Day, should he have said that he did?
Well, like, that's what he said on Monday. He's like, if I would have said I did, it's like, give us a better chance to win. It's like, no, well, no. And also, like you said, like we would have just, I mean, he could have said it. I think there's a way he could have said it in a joking manner where like clearly he wasn't serious, but also would have like calmed everyone down. But again, like he wouldn't have meant it. So, yeah, I think it's like you're asking for them to be performative, and like I don't. What's the point of that? It almost like undermines the rivalry, in my opinion. If you have to like just step in front of the microphone and throw out fake bluster about how much you hate the other head coach for some reason. Like, listen, they might come to hate each other. I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but at the moment they don't really have any reason to.
Right. And especially in a world where we believe the hate was a disadvantage for Ohio State. That's the part of it that there's no debate about that.
I think there's a difference too between like who knows how long Kyle Whittingham might be at Michigan, but let's just say for the sake of conversation, Kyle Whittingham is there for 6 years and like they go 3-3 against each other, right? Then you're like you are talking about one heck of a coaching like rivalry, right? It like you have the rivalry between the two teams, and then you have this thing between the two head coaches like going back and forth, like that's something, but I don't think it has to rise to the level of personal hatred, right? Like you're like in Woody Bow territory. Then it's like I on the Saturday in November when we face each other, I want to put that guy in the ground and run his team over. But like if he were in a burning building, I'd also go in there and save him, kind of thing, right? Like I think like there's a cutoff where like it's becomes less about competitive rivalry and more about personal hatred, and where I think like Ohio State and Michigan, Jim Harbaugh and Ryan Day specifically toward Jim Harbaugh, like got to very quickly in a way that was not healthy for Ohio State.
And the thing that I think this is a very powerful thing. And again, I think you and I might be influenced on this by not being from Ohio, by not growing up in the rivalry, by now coming to cover Ohio State. Also, I don't think it is necessary or the best case scenario for everybody involved if every single Ohio State reporter is from Ohio. It's great that a lot of them are. It's great that there are a lot of Ohio State reporters who grew up in the rivalry and understand it on a visceral level and went to Ohio State or grew up as fans. But I don't think it should be 100%. I don't think it has to be 100%. And I think everyone's like bringing different perspectives is useful. But I think it's always very powerful. And I find this in politics too. A lot of times when somebody is running for office, if they are from the place where they are now running for office, they will emphasize the fact that I grew up here. Like I have always lived here. I understand this place. I find it very powerful to say like, I'm not from here, but I chose to be here. I could be anywhere. I could live. This is a great big globe. It's a great big country, but I chose here. I have no connection to here, but I wound up here by happenstance. I made a choice to be here, but whatever it is, I stayed. I didn't leave because like I joke about this sometimes. It's like, but like you can't help where you're born. You don't get a choice in where you are born. You do get a choice after that. So if you choose to stay in the place where you were born, great. But I think the choice to go somewhere and pick a new home is just as powerful and perhaps at times more powerful. And if I ever ran for office, I certainly would emphasize that. I'm not from here, but I want to be here. And so I think it is very powerful. I think Ryan Day has actually, now that he has a win under his belt again after losing 4 straight, when he talks about it, I think it's powerful because what you realize is you can't know it right away. Right? When you're here, you're new. In year 1, Ryan Day didn't fully get it. Like you can't. But like to expect someone to get it right away, I think is foolhardy. But what Ryan Day expresses is he now understands fully how much this means to the people of Ohio. And regardless of his personal roots, he feels connected to these people. He feels connected to their passion. Their passion has seeped into him. On behalf of them, representing them, all these Ohio State fans, he now undoubtedly understands how vital this is. And on behalf of these people that he cares about, because now he knows them, he wants to beat Michigan as bad as anybody. I think that's powerful. And it's not what's in me, it's what you have put in me. And I think that story over time, that like there's so much of life is about that. It's not just what you think, it's what you absorb from your community. And then you're like, oh yeah, like that moves me. So to yell at Kyle Whittingham for, I thought what was a great answer to your question, I think it's short-sighted, but I think it's like it's demanding something that's disingenuous rather than allowing him to take a path that I think will get him where Michigan fans want him to be. But you have to allow him a little grace on the way. And to be disingenuous about it serves no one. To genuinely, over a year, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, 7 years for Ryan Day, to genuinely feel that, super powerful in my mind.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm sure whatever Kyle Whittingham thinks of the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry now, will change, be enhanced by when he's actually on the field against Ohio State, and let's assume he'll lose one of those games at some point. And then it kind of hits you in a different way. And like people have said that, I don't disagree with that notion, right? Like if you think it's like, yeah, like maybe he doesn't like it because you can't get it. Like maybe he doesn't get it because you can't get it until you're actually in it, right? But I also thought there was a little too much of like, well, Michigan's screwed because Kyle Whittingham didn't say he hates Ryan Day, and it's like I that is not the leap that I would make. And I wrote and I said like this guy spent whatever 30 years in the Holy War with BYU and Utah on both sides of it, and I've gotten like some pushback from that, or like people saying like actually like I know that Nick, our intern Nick, who helps us out, said like, you know, I've been around that, and he's an Ohio State fan. He's like, I wouldn't say it was the same or is the same, and some other people have said the same thing. So like that's I wasn't trying to equate the two rivalries necessarily, just more of saying like this guy knows what it's like to coach in an emotionally charged rivalry game that means a lot to the people of a state. So I don't think he's going to be like overwhelmed by the magnitude of Ohio State, Michigan, and nor do I think what he said in Chicago was any sign that he doesn't understand how important games like this are to people. Even if you think, and I think that Ohio State, Michigan is on a level by itself in terms of like the meaning of the rivalry and the passion involved with it. I still think you can appreciate that from afar, even if you don't fully get it until you're actually in it, and maybe even until you lose it. I don't think it puts him at a disadvantage going into his first Ohio State Michigan game.
Hey Ryan, why don't you go back to the Bryce Cowell Musket rivalry? I feel like I'm not aware of this. I just looked it up in the last 11 seconds.
Yeah.
What is the University of New Hampshire's greatest rivalry? Have you studied and researched the battle for the Bryce Cowell Musket?
I have, because I want to see if I can find it. When Ryan Day was head coach in 2019, I was just like, I was curious about this. So like I sat with him in his office for like 6 minutes because I just wanted to see like what, like what he think, like how is what he thinks is a rivalry. Like how has that idea been formed in his head by his experiences in his life? Because at that point he'd only been at Ohio State for 2 years. So Day at New Hampshire was 1-2 as the starting quarterback against Maine. He won the Bryce Cowell Musket in 1999, but they lost in convincing fashion the next 2 years.
They got boat race, brother. Yeah. They lost 112-34 the next 2 years. He was not helped by his UNH defenses in those games.
He also talked about the Yankees and Red Sox. Just like I get, but like, no offense to the Yankees and Red Sox. It's not Ohio State, Michigan.
Yeah. So anyway, so this is the reason. So we wanted to talk about this. We did talk about it with our folks over on the website to some degree, but we wanted to bring the conversation here because it is Landis's fault, and we just want for you to take public blame for what has been an odd couple of weeks in the rivalry.
Yeah.
So
do we want to share the poll question results real quick that we asked people?
Yeah. Go ahead. You did ask. So, this is again. I think the discussion around what coaches feel and what fans feel is gigantically different, but what fans feel is very important.
So I asked them 2 questions. The first was, do you want Ohio, and this is to Ohio State fans, do you want Ohio State and Michigan's coaches to hate each other? 15% said yes, which is, it's a decently high number. 38% said no. 47% said they don't care. So whatever, 85% of the people were like either no or it doesn't matter to them whether or not Ohio State and Michigan's coaches hate each other.
Yeah. And like 2.5-1 for the people who do care, 2.5-1. I don't want them to hate each other. So again, this is one of those where when we have our dedicated, educated fans who are rolling with us on the website, and again, we appreciate everybody who watches and consumes our content, but like, they're the diehards of the diehards. That's a focus group for us that I think some of the people, some of the media preaching to fans would imagine that poll question answer might be like 80% yes, that Ohio State fans want the coaches to hate each other, right? Don't you believe there's an assumption maybe there that's incorrect?
Yeah, I do. No, it's like, time of the year too, I guess. Like if we ask that question in November, might we get a different answer? Sure. But yeah, I do think there were some assumptions made about like what should have been said because the fans want them to say it, and I don't think that's actually the case. And then the other question we asked was, do you think that Ryan Day's personal hatred for Jim Harbaugh was counterproductive? And 85% said yes.
Okay.
Ryan
Day voted in that too. I think he might have voted yes.
I know, like we asked people for comments too. I won't read them all, but maybe I'll read like one or two. 321 Buckeye, who's over on our page at billandduckshow.com, said, I have no issue with what Whittingham said about rivalry and his approach. In fact, I find it refreshing after Harbaugh and more. And then I think there was another one about respectability. There's just a lot of people like talking about respect, and like they didn't respect Harbaugh, which like I don't like. Why would you if you're an Ohio State fan? But right. I think there was like sort of a welcome shift, I think, for some people, like back to sort of like the grounds of respectability, which is what Urban talked about more than anything, than sort of like taking pot shots at people. Now, if Urban talked about respect and went 3-4, I think people wouldn't maybe hold on to that point of view as much. But like while going 7-0, Urban like never really stooped, like whatever, lowered himself and took shots at Michigan while doing it. And I think people would prefer that that's where things stood. At least some people.
Yeah, I think that's right. Again, as we record this on Tuesday, what the follow-up questions to Whittingham on Monday, the reporter was sort of like just like began the question about his comments, and he was sort of using the comments that Kyle Whittingham made at Big Ten Media Days in Chicago as a lead-in to sort of a different question. And Kyle Whittingham sort of interrupted and said, will we have a better chance to win if I hated them? I mean, I don't understand. Whatever gives us the best chance to win, I'm all for. I want to beat them worse than anybody around. And so I don't know how that got to be such a hot topic. Anyway, I cut you off. What was the question? So like that was interesting, even of like, it's on his, he obviously was aware, right, of the discussion. And then the question was actually about like, does Michigan have an Ohio State period in practice? And Kyle Whittingham said there's periods where you in practice segments or things like that in the weight room, that's talked about. We've got the countdown clocks. I'm not trying to downplay that at all. It's a huge game, gigantic, and it's something that we all have in the back of our mind 24/7. I don't know. I probably should have worded it differently at Big Ten Media Days, but that game is of the utmost importance. And then he's sort of, they followed up with like were you kind of surprised again at the reaction? He said, I guess I set myself up for it in a lot of ways, but just don't confuse that with a lack of desire to win the game. I mean, we obviously understand that that is the game, as we call it. So again, I thought his first answer to you in Chicago was good. I think this answer on Monday was good.
I'm glad he got to like say something additional to it, because I think the question I asked him in Chicago was the second to last question he was asked. So like he wasn't asked any kind of follow up in Chicago, at least not at his like main media breakout session. So I don't think like he didn't change his stand. Like I'm almost sort of glad like he didn't show up with something to try to like spin it, right, or like say. No, like actually, I do hate Ohio State and I hate Ryan Day. It's like he's kind of stayed true to what he actually thinks and feels, which again, like if had he not, I would have just felt disingenuous. So, I don't know. I just kind of like, I don't know. Maybe is it put to bed now? Hopefully, and then we'll see what happens when they play in November. Yeah.
Well, it's put to bed until Ohio State Michigan week, when you and I ask Ryan Day questions along this line and try to get Ryan Day to answer publicly about whether he felt personal animosity at any point in the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry, and whether if he did feel any personal animosity, whether that had any negative effect on him and the program, because it got personal, which we have to, like, we're so interested. Don't we have to ask that? Or are we killing it? Are we killing the rivalry?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. But because it's not even like, we're talking like game preparedness, right? We're talking. We're not talking about, at least in my mind, like the the soul of the rivalry here. Like as we said many times, like we understand that there's hatred on both sides here, but I think like the historical hatred that is just sort of inherent in a rivalry that is earned over time is very different from the personal hatred of someone undermining your very existence and like basically telling the world you're not qualified to be in the job that you're in, right? So like that, there in my mind, there's just two very different things. So and I think the latter is what kind of got did get under Ryan Day's skin in a bad way.
And I do think, I mean, and again, this is very different from anybody. You can't, anybody who comes in and says it's just another game, right? We're trying to win them. Like that's not it either. Like that is not. We are not advocating for that, right? Because that to me, that's being dismissive of what your fans want, of what the people who make it possible for you to have this job, the people who have lived it their whole lives, right? So I think you have to be aware, and you have to place importance on what the fans think, but you don't have to pretend that you have the same lived experience as those fans until you have it, right? So that's like, don't be disingenuous about it. Also, I'm sure, like, I don't know how we exactly did it here. It's like I'm wearing a blue shirt and you're wearing kind of a yellow shirt. We're having a discussion about how
this is neon. This is neon.
So, and I'm not sure, this isn't like Michigan blue. It's just a plaid shirt from Kohl's. Like, what are you going to do? You want to wear gray tomorrow or scarlet for the show? We probably need
I think gray's better. I think gray's better for me.
Yeah. I'll find a red shirt. BillAndDougShow.com. Trivia on August 20th in Cincinnati, on August 27th in Brunswick, Ohio. We will have interviews after Ohio State practice on Wednesday and Thursday, and then we will have our first full conversation with Ryan Day since the start of camp on Saturday. We had him for about 9 minutes after the first day of camp, and we'll be writing and talking about the Buckeyes.
Yeah, Saturday will be good because we'll have Ryan Day like fresh off of what should be like their first big scrimmage Saturday. So, and we're getting Arthur Smith and Matt Patricia on Wednesday and Thursday. So
yeah, very
should
exciting.
be a good week.
Looking forward to it. All right. Thanks to you guys, as always, for being here. We'll see you over at BillAndDougShow.com if you'd like to check it out. But of course, constantly putting content here on the YouTube channel, in the podcast feed, and we're so glad that you are here to absorb it. For now, he's Bill Landis. I'm Doug Lesmerises, and that was the Bill and Doug Show.